All right, what's going on, internet? So, roughly 3 weeks ago, I spent about 5 to 6 hours writing a proposal, and that proposal was rejected by that potential client. And then last week, I wrote another proposal, but I followed an AI process. In this AI process, I took about roughly 22 minutes to write that proposal, and it was accepted. Now, there's not a direct correlation between using AI and getting accepted proposals from clients. There's a lot of other variables that come into play. But when looking at the quality of the proposal side by side, and then actually running it by a few of my consulting friends that have been in the space for 5 to 20 years, they all clearly stated that the one that was generated by AI was much better. So that's probably indicative of the use of AI in the process, but also my lack of practice writing proposals. So I sat down with one of my consulting friends that's doing another agency themselves for a different type of topic. And when walking them through my process, they actually stopped me midway through the process and asked me to go back and start over so they could take notes and actually mimic the same process I leveraged. I then ran this process by around 7 other seasoned consultants that do their own consultancies for different types of topics, and all of which have copied this process because they found so much value in it. So my hope here is that I can share it with you, and you can maybe benefit from some of the processes associated to this, and you can write proposals faster as well. Instead of hours, do it in minutes. So as always, we're going to use some beautiful slides. So this is where the process starts, right? So at the very beginning, when we talk to a prospect and we're writing a proposal, we have a core offer. So what is the core thing that we're going to share with them? So likely if you're a consultant and you're giving a service, that may be customized unless you've already productized your service and you're scaling it up. If you're in the beginning phases and you're doing customized services, that'll depend on the type of conversation and the use case you're trying to help the client with. So once you've established your core offer, which is based off of that conversation, you then go off and do some additional research and figure out, okay, in addition to this core offer, what are some other elements we can add to this so we can actually then break it out in tiers. So once I've established my core offer, I'm then going to go to the next phase. And I'm going to generate some options. And to generate options, I'll use AI for this. And to do that, what I'll do is I'll likely utilize a reasoning model that has access to the web. And I have a few tabs open here of tools that I've used in the past and I use today. So I have Perplexity Pro, which gives you the opportunity to do reasoning, and I use Claude 3.7 for that. I use Grok 3 with deep research, and then I use sometimes ChatGPT o3 Mini High, and then some other features I'll talk about later. That's the first thing, is we have our offer, our core offer, and then around that we want to generate options. And so why are we generating options? Well, often when doing research on this topic and learning more about consultancies and proposals, you want to have ideally three different options for somebody to choose from in your proposal. And each one of these have varying levels of value associated to it. And that needs to be very clear to the person that's reading it. And when we do that, we're going to have AI generate these for us. So for instance, an example, let's say I'm working with an insurance agency and they have a lot of policies they want to be able to search over. I'm going to create them a RAG system to the ability to actually search that system more effectively and quickly. So the core offer there is creating the basic RAG system to allow them to do the searches at a certain accuracy rate. So additional things I can add to that offering is one is additional features for improvement of the RAG system. So maybe we add some sort of eval framework or evaluation framework on that so they can evaluate the system over time and improve it incrementally based off of the failure modes. In addition to that, so number three could be support and training. So maybe I can say, okay, in addition to building this additional feature for tier two, for tier three, you can actually get me as a retainer for 30 days to assist you in making additional tweaks after we've gotten to the point where you're satisfied. For those 30 days, you can keep me on retainer. Or in addition to that, I can also do training. So maybe I can enable your team on a subset of existing tools your teams have access to that are outside of this RAG system to enable them to use them more effectively when playing with AI. So here we have the core feature. Here we have an additional feature added to the core feature. And then here we have some sort of support and or enablement or education. So we have three tiers I can choose from. So the value correlated to each is higher, which means the price is higher. And this is a common tactic people use in proposals, is they want to anchor somebody on the third tier, so they choose the second. And if not, then they'll choose the first, or there's some sort of mix of the two. So that's why we're generating options for a proposal. Once we've done that, we're then going to do some price research. And this is also where we're going to use reasoning models that are connected to the internet. Because as you start out, like myself, you want to figure out what are the common prices people charge for these types of offerings. And often in the past, you would have to take hours to research this and figure out, okay, what kind of offerings are people giving out and what are the prices associated, even if that's available. But you can use AI for this. So we can have AI go off and find different price ranges for these tiers that we've established that we've given it to the AI to research. And this is often going to come with a price range. So it's going to vary between a like a low end and a high end. And we need to pick based off of our experience and where we're at in our consultancy, where we want to place our price. So that's when we have our pricing, and we've established what prices we want to attach to each one of these different offerings. And then after we've done price, we're going to move to context. So what does this mean? We're going to dump as much context as we can into our custom proposal writer, because that's a thing we've created. We have a Claude project that I was showing you earlier here. That's our proposal writer. So this is the thing that actually does the writing for us, and it has the system prompt and the associated knowledge to it. And when I say context, there's a few things that we want to share. And actually, I'm going to show you the screen that I'm drawing on, so you're not looking at that. So the context here is, and I'll walk through some of this later, but if you have a recording of the meeting with the client, obviously with their approval, you can take the transcript and you can upload that into your proposal writer to then help it understand more about the conversation that you had with them prior to creating the proposal. So that gives them a lot of nuance as to the conversation, what matters to the client, the pain points they had, and the associated value that you could potentially offer in that situation. And if you can't actually record the meeting, you have your handwritten notes. So if you have handwritten notes, you should take photos of those, upload that into the proposal writer, and have that write the proposal based off of the context there. The accuracy isn't always going to be the best depending on how good your handwriting is. And for me, as you can tell from all of these videos, it's not great. But that's a starting point. You have context you want to share with that AI. All right, so once we've uploaded the context and shared that with the AI, then I'm going to give you some more additional caveats that will help you in this process before we actually generate the proposal. So down here, we've already mentioned notes. So your handwritten notes and or your recorded meetings is critical. Next, you want to actually have the AI use the Canvas feature. So that means that you should use ChatGPT and or Claude, because both of them have this Canvas feature where they write something in line so you can make inline edits. So as you're making inline edits, it then allows you to rewrite those pieces inside of that context. And I probably can show you an example here really quick. So write a proposal about dogs, cats. Let's do proposal selling to cat cupcakes to say 37-year-old women in Wisconsin. Sure. All right, and then use the Canvas feature. Cool. Still feature wrong, but I don't understand. So it's going to do a bunch of stuff here, and it's actually going to ask me questions. So this is based off of the system prompt that I gave it, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm just going to say all for now, because I just want to show you the Canvas feature. All the details associated isn't really that relevant. So you can see it's using this little box here. And as it's writing this in this little box, it's putting it in the Canvas feature. So this Canvas thing here is the thing that it's writing on the other side. And the good thing about this is the inline edits you can make. And the key thing here is when you're making inline edits, say I don't like this executive summary. Actually, it's not done writing. It's writing a real long one. This is a beefy proposal for cupcakes. Okay, it finally finished. Groovy. So say I don't like the executive summary. I can highlight this. When I highlight it, then it gives me the improve option. I can write improve and say, okay, this is too long. Write it shorter. In a 5th grade reading level. So now it's going to rewrite just the executive summary in the specific area that I wanted to be improved. And this is key. And the reason this is key is because we're going to use this quite a lot in the process of iterating. So highly recommend using the Canvas feature either in Claude or OpenAI. And then next is references. So as you could see in the Claude project, let's go back here. You can see a few things. So I have Gradient Labs, which is my website. So I've taken the website, a PDF version of that, so it has context of the business that I have and the use cases I've had historically. Also, it has my LinkedIn profile and my experience. So when we write a very specific part of the proposal, it's why work with me or why work with us. We want the AI writer to have insight into what that is. Okay, future Dylan here making edits. I forgot to mention that there are additional things here for proposals. So I actually include previous proposals when I'm writing proposals in the proposal writer. Reason being is that it can reference those proposals as a structure. So they can see, okay, this is exactly how he likes to structure his proposals. So I'll then reference when I kind of give my prompt initially here is to follow the structure from the existing references you have in your knowledge base, as well as the website and my LinkedIn profile for the additional information. So back to Dylan you're watching currently. So we want to include that as one of the additional pieces to improve the ability to write these proposals. So next is we do the generation. So as you just witnessed, it generates a proposal for you. And after it's generated it, that's when we iterate. And that goes back to the Canvas feature, right? So if I'm going to make minor edits, which I often do, once it writes a proposal, I mean, I always do actually, I'll probably go back and forth with the AI and writing the proposal back and forth maybe 6 to 10 times, depending on the proposal and what I need to change. I'll then port this over into a document and I'll make some minor edits on my side and add some formatting that's relevant for my proposals. So this is kind of the process and how I'm able to take writing a proposal from 5 to 6 hours to a few minutes. Now, in addition to showing you this flow, I also wanted to show you the system prompt, because you saw that when I initially did this through the example, it asked me some questions. So that's interesting. And you probably ask, why did it ask them questions? Well, it's because in the system prompt, I made it explicit that I wanted it to do that. And I'll show you that here. So this is the system prompt that I can share with you on GitHub. I'll give you access and you can use it for your own purposes. And I've highlighted a few things here that I want to call out. So at the very top, we're giving it a role, saying you're an expert at this. Specifically, it's specializing in writing proposals. In addition to that, I say for your proposals, you're known for writing proposals that are clear, persuasive, and have a high acceptance rate. So I'm setting constraints as the type of writing that I want this AI writer to use. After that, I want it to carefully review the information that I've given it in the additional context, such as the notes and all the other stuff. And then I'm going to have it pay close attention to certain information that is provided in the transcript of the meeting or the notes that I've taken a photo of and sent. And then the few things I'll call it here are the challenges and the outcomes. Now, often when talking with some of my consulting friends and also doing research on this, the pain point is the key thing. So oftentimes you want the client to relive the pain in the very beginning of your proposal, so they understand the value that is provided by you and your service after you've kind of shown that pain. So you want to call it the pain, and then after that, you want to kind of highlight the desired outcomes of what you can provide with your service and help them with. After this, you're then going to ask it to do follow-ups. So this is exactly why it asked me questions when I initially prompted the thing to create, I think it was cat cupcakes for women somewhere. And these specific questions that are asked, it's trying to mimic the concept from deep research. So if you've at all played with Gemini, OpenAI, I think Perplexity and Grok, they all have this new deep research feature where it goes off and researches and writes it like kind of an extensive report on your behalf. And often most of them ask you questions proactively. So this is the first form of AI that's being proactive in its sense of trying to get more out of you and prompting the user instead of the user prompting it. And that's what I wanted to bake into this prompt. So it actually asks me questions if I'm not clear on what I want, so it can specify and ensure that the proposal it's writing is more effective. So that's kind of why I included that there. Next is the outline. So this is just the general structure of what it's going to look like. We have the executive summary, which actually oftentimes I remove. So I'll probably remove that from the system prompt. But I want to go straight into the problem and the discussion that we had with the client. And then we'll go and talk about a bunch of other stuff here. After that, we want to determine pricing, but oftentimes this is determined prior, so I could probably remove this. And if it's not determined prior, you can have it do research on your behalf if it has access to the internet. If not, that's why you probably want to do it prior. And then also another thing you can see is I've specified that I want it to provide justification for the price. So next, we have a bunch of stuff here that I'll skip over, which is basically including very specific elements that I want and like incorporated into the proposal and the format. And then another interesting thing here is I've asked it to review. So this is a quality assurance check where the AI is actually going to go back and look at what it's written and assess, does this meet the criteria that the person asked me initially to write about? And it's going to ask itself a subset of questions. So have we talked about the need? Is this well organized and logically constructed? Have I justified the price? Is there a measurable outcome that we can look at? Have we addressed the client challenges and pain points? All of which are key for structuring this and having it refer back to the things that I've asked it to do previously. So it's kind of reviewing and judging itself before it gives me the final output. And then lastly, again, I ask it to use the canvas feature so I can make inline edits. So this is the system prompt, and that's kind of how it's structured. And that overall is the process. This is the proposal writer, and I hope that was useful. So internet, if you found this useful, entertaining, educational, all that stuff, like, subscribe, reshare with your friends. And if you'd like to work with me, as you can tell from all of the things we just discussed, I have a consultancy that helps people automate internal processes with AI and increases their productivity and efficiency and all that stuff. So if you're interested, you can book a call with me below, free call for 15 minutes to see if there's a good fit. And internet, I will see you next time.